Hello, everybody. Good morning on this Monday. This is Coffee Talk. I'm excited for today. I'd like to introduce you to my co host. This is Laura Giacomelli Hunkowski. Hello, Laura.
Good morning, Ree. How are you today?
Excellent.
Awesome.
Life is good.
Good. Happy to hear it.
I'd like to tell everybody that this broadcast is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, also known as IDEA. We are a group of studio owners from all over the world who are passionate about dance, passionate about doing business the right way, doing business the successful way, and also supporting each other through the roller coaster ride of dance studio ownership. You can learn more at ideadance.org. So, Laura, tell me what's new in your life, dance studio owner? What have you been up to?
We had this weekend, Lieber had our first group competition. So that was super exciting. That was on Saturday. And it was a smaller competition than what we're used to doing, but it's new. I like to try a new one every single year to get our feet wet with something else. We have like our two that we like hold on to because we really enjoy them. But it was good. We have a lot of new kids on company this year. I have 19 new ones. So I almost feel like if we started with the big ones, they would have been like, what did I jump into? So it was kind of like a nice way to ease them all in. It was one day. So I actually had a Sunday of competition weekend. I'm like, my husband and I went to Lowe's at 5 o'clock on a Sunday of competition weekend. We were like, who are we? We're buying shelving at 5:30 on a Sunday. So no, but it was really good. The dancers did awesome. Everyone had a very positive experience. The little ones loved it. It was a little hectic for this, the senior girls, like because there wasn't as many numbers to fill in. But the talent there, even though there wasn't as many routines, it was really high.
Strong.
It was really high, and by no means would we go in there and like wipe the floor. We held our own, but it was like awesome. Like some of it, I would like the modern choreography there. As the modern teacher, I was like, oh, look at the flatbacks and the Graham hands. And I was just like, wow, like it was just really awesome to be. We were in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So it's a little bit northern from where I am outside of the city of Philadelphia. And just some really great talent there, great choreography. So it was exciting. It was really good.
I want to say I went to a competition first time in a long time.
Yeah, how was it? Because you emceed it, didn't you?
I emceed for 3 days, sat in the chair for 3 days. I left 1 hour before it was over because I just needed to go home and be an old man and go to bed early and wake up the next morning. I couldn't do what I used to do, but I loved it. But you brought up a point that I think is so true, at least in what I have seen myself. Talent is strong out there.
Yes. Yes.
Talent is strong. People are doing a good job training their dancers and a good job creating,
Hmm.
just creating and
Yeah.
trying to be different.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm feeling a vibe like, wow, is really what I felt last weekend.
Yeah.
Look at these kids.
Yeah.
And as a judge, it's like, okay, any five of these could win this,
Yeah.
right? It's just that because
Hmm.
it's so good, and
Yeah.
I hope people realize that
Yeah.
when
I
it.
feel like that's something that's like amazing that does come out of like the competitive world of dance. I feel like you look at the Facebook pages and everyone's like poo-pooing on competitions, but I will say there's pros and cons, yes. But I think a pro for me as a choreographer, I mean as a teacher, it makes you step up your game. It
Oh yeah,
makes you think outside of the box. It exposes you to, I would never have seen things from Allentown and Gettysburg and all these other amazing studios that how they're training their dancers and what they're bringing to the stage. It's like I wouldn't have been exposed to that, neither of my kids, if we weren't going to competitions and bringing them outside of our community. there are many positives to going to competition. There really are. And I think as a choreographer, I really enjoy that for sure.
All right, there's a question here. I'm going to put it up and then I'm going to express an opinion. And then we're going to move on to our special guests.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question from Jackie. What are your thoughts on competitions? She says getting away with giving out trophies and plaques and just giving
pins.
Yeah, getting away from. In the long run, I want good judges, good critiques, an on-time schedule, and I don't really care that much what the award is.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought here. Like when you're judging a competition, I look at it as how's the talent, what experience do the judges have?
Mm-hmm.
That determines whether this is a good experience or not what we win or how much we win. Just needed to say that because I saw that comment. You have any comments on that?
I mean, as a studio owner, I think trophies get very cumbersome and plaques and all of that. And I think it's exciting. The kids like getting the big trophies. That's awesome. But we've been competing for 12 years now. So where do you put all of them at that point? We don't even go to a ton. We go to 3-4 a season. I will say that my dancers do love getting pins because especially my littles, they line their jackets with them and they wear them with pride. And they can look back and I got this from Breakout. I got this from Beyond the Stars. I got this, and they enjoy that. So we actually are okay with the pins. We like that a lot at Libra.
Okay, I think we've expressed enough opinions so far. This is what I'd like to say to all of those that are viewing. Let me know who's here and where you're from. I am going to another place here in this program. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, leave your comments, you guys. I want to see where you guys are all from.
So today's a great day for, how do I want to say it? Opening our minds. Thinking, growing up in dance, even I, as a male dancer, was always thinking about what I look like, how other people were going to judge me, judge my body, judge my height, judge whatever. And in 2023, I say, wow, I see so many people dancing who are different from what everybody thought was the perfect body in the 70s, 80s. And I love to discuss this within dance education and our judgment of our own kids and their possibilities. And so I'm excited. Our guest is Eric Kavanaugh. If you don't know him, you should. And we'll be bringing him on in a moment. And while we prepare for that, here is a commercial for the Dance Life Teacher Conference and the Soul Dancer Conference. We'd love to see you there. We're in Las Vegas, and the conference is on the 31st to August 2nd. So July 31st to August 2nd. And Soul, a non-competitive dance event for dancers, teachers, and parents, is the 2nd through the 5th. Here we go. See you in a minute. Here we are. Welcome, Eric.
Hello, good morning.
Good
It's
morning.
so
Thank you
good
for
to
being
have
here.
you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Laura, I think I just interrupted you before we even got started. What'd you just say?
No, I said thank you for being here. We're excited to chat with you today, Eric.
I'm super excited to be here.
So, Eric, I just want to let you know about some of our viewers. This is Riverton, Wyoming is here. Kristen from Harrisburg, North Carolina, Michelle Turner Webb, Louis Pabone. These are all people who are excited to hear from you. And I'm so excited to have you as a guest. I'm going to start with you at the very beginning, Eric. What inspired you to walk into a dance studio for the first time?
So I started young, mostly with acting and singing. I was following one of my older brothers who was very much into musical theater, and just being the little brother, I wanted to follow in the same footsteps. So I jumped into it, and I kind of stuck with it for a little bit, but what caused me to switch to just dance in general and not really the acting, I was just so drawn to it. I kept loving just the dancing side of musical theater. I always wanted to take more classes. I attended a performing arts high school, and by the end of my sophomore year, I realized like I was not fully driven on the acting side. I just wanted to dance, and I had a bunch of friends that were dancers, and I was like, I just felt where my passion was lying was not in acting and singing. I liked it a lot, but I wanted to just dance. I just wanted to be in it. So I just jumped on over and switched into the dance department at my high school.
Now, were you exposed obviously to dance though, being at Kappa? Like, was that a part of your curriculum? Obviously, with being like musical theater driven.
Yeah, we had a dance class maybe 2-3 times a week, about an hour long, and it was like a movement / musical theater class. So it wasn't like a fully technical driven dance class. It was like, we'll do some things across the floor, but it's mostly about like getting into like characters for dancing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So then when did you decide, how old were you when you shifted and said, okay, I want to focus solely on dance? And what was that journey finding a dance studio like?
I was probably about 15. I think that's your age, around sophomore, junior year.
Mhm.
Um, there was some pushback. My parents didn't really love the idea of me pursuing that.
Mhm.
They were very hesitant because I grew up at a different studio with my brother, and the dance teacher there that I was taking classes from told my parents, I was a child, I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, said to my parent, he's too big, he'll never have a successful career. And it was basically like, stop wasting your money now. So
Wow.
that stuck with my parents. So when I said I want to go into dance, all that triggers is my parents' memory of that. So there was fear of it.
Right, because
So
when you're hearing that from a professional in the industry,
yeah,
as a parent, you're probably thinking, well, they're not going to excel in this. So why, even if that's so hard though, because as a mom, if my kid's coming to me and saying that this is my passion, but you have your first experience of a professional saying, no, don't even try. Like, that
yeah.
makes
And I
it
think
hard for you and them.
what's really hard is like, it's not even just I was like working or anything. We were paying for this. So you don't even want to accept our money as clientele because of my body. And I was a child at that time. So
It was
that
her
always stuck with my parents.
insecurities. I'm sorry, I had to jump in because this is for studio owners and teachers. What happened that day was her own insecurity. She did not know what to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm.
Okay. But go
I
ahead,
didn't know about
keep going.
I didn't know about all of that. I actually didn't learn much of that information until just a few years ago. So I was just like, arguing with my mom, like, what's the problem? Like, why can't I just go to a dance studio? Why can't I do this? And she was protecting me, but like at the same time, I'm like, you're not letting me live my life. And eventually I was able to get, her on my side very reluctantly. She didn't fully want it. And then I did my entire junior year just dancing at Kappa. And I attended some other classes here and there. Point Park University had some after school classes, so I attended that.
Oh, neat.
And then over the summer, I did a summer intensive where I met other dancers. And I was encouraged to then go into studio life and train at a studio full time and try to, up my training more. So then the journey of like trying to figure out, because there's so many dance studios in Pittsburgh and a new one pops up every other day. So it was like trying to find the right fit for me and what I wanted, because you have the studios that are more focused on musical theater, the ones that are more focused on contemporary, the ballet studios, so acro studios. Like it was like, where do I want to fit and what was going to be the best place for me? Did I want to go to a studio that had 500 kids, or did I want to go to a smaller studio that had, maybe 50 kids? So it was like trying to go from there as well. And I went with a studio that had the smaller kids with great training, because that intimate one-on-one was more available.
And I would think too, Eric, and this is just coming from someone who's danced. I started training. I met my first dance class. I was 2.5. I was like, "You're out of diapers. Go ahead." Because my cousins dance, and that was like the only activity I could do at that age. So I've been dancing since I was young. And I feel like in the dance world, when you hear people saying I started really training at 16, that's considered older. I mean, as we all know, like in the dance world, like 16, like girls, at my studio had been dancing for years at that point. So I feel like that's incredible that at 16, you were like so determined that you're like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the right situation to put myself in to grow. And now like, that's where your path like changed and how you were able to get to where you are now. Cause you're so thoughtful at a young age to put yourself on the right trajectory to get your right training, because 16, that's late in the game, like, and if you pick that studio where they had hundreds and hundreds of students, you might not have gotten that one-on-one that you really, really needed,
I want to ask this because this is why I like you. I like your story. Where'd you get the guts after hearing what your mother said and knowing this? Where'd you get the guts to walk in at age 15, 16? That's a time when a male is kind of inhibited about themselves. What was it inside of you? Is it just, I'm going for this, or?
Yeah, I've never been good at accepting no. I am a Taurus, so I'm very stubborn in my ways. And when I want something, I'm not going to let someone else hold me back from it. So I've just kind of always had that innate, like, just push, just to keep going and not resting on easy.
I love that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Okay, so where'd you go next? Wait, I want to give a shout out to Carpel is Penny Gels and
Heather
Gels in Pennsylvania. Good for them and good for you. So where'd you go after high school? Where was your next journey to?
I then auditioned for a bunch of colleges and I got rejected from all of them. And
for dance programs? I'm just curious. Yes, got rejected from all of them.
And so then I decided at that point, I was like, dance isn't, my passion then, that I had to take this, whatever. So I went to Slippery Rock University and I was majoring in exercise science with the process to go to into physical therapy,
Wow.
which was one of the schools I auditioned for and got rejected from. So I was doing it, and then they had like 2 classes. They had a modern class and ballet class that anybody could take. They're 1 credit each. And it was my first semester, so I was like, let me do this. Let me just get into them so I have a little bit of dance still in my life. And the teachers that were there, they were outside teachers, both were like, pulled me aside because we had little meetings after final midterms. I'm like, why aren't you a dance major? Why aren't you? And I was like, well, the program didn't accept me. And they're like, re-audition and get into this program. And so I did, and I got into the program. So then I switched to dance. So I was there for several years. And then, yeah, that was my post high school training. Very modern, very, it's such a modern school, such a eclectic modern school too. It's not like this is a Graham school or a Horton school. Like, it was just such a variety of modern.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Okay, and then I know you landed in Nashville.
Yeah, that was a couple years later. So after I left Slippery Rock, for some reason, I would always improv in a studio, and I would film it and I would put it on YouTube. And right after school, I was reached out by a casting producer on America's Got Talent to audition for the show.
So they reached out to you. You didn't even submit a video. They saw you on YouTube and reached out to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were like, hey, could you put something together that's a little bit more commercialized? Because what I did was what they found me on was a very modern EPs. And I was like, sure. So I threw some like fouette turns and big jumps, and they're like, great. And normally when you do that, they then ask you to come to the open call auditions that they do traveling around the country. They're like, we're just going to send you straight to Los Angeles to go in front of the judges. So I skipped like 5 rounds of all of it. And I went straight to LA to audition for like Simon and all them. I was 23, turning 24. So I did that, and then I made it to the second round right before the live shows, where I did get cut, but it was actually kind of very fortunate to get cut there, because a solo dance act doesn't really stand against the other acts that are on there, but I got that chance. And before my episode could air, I then went viral with Worldwide Dance, and that caused all these other major publications like New York Post, People Magazine, Today Show, Good Morning America, all that to then write about me, share about me. So then I was like, holy crap, what is going on with my life? Here I am thinking I'm about to be like a modern baby and join a company and, live off of my art. And now I'm in this commercialized world.
Yes.
So then I was like, let me try New York for a little bit. I lived in New York for like 4 or 5 months, hated it, came back to Pittsburgh. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I knew a lot of directors and a lot of different people. And a lot of them were like, Nashville is the city on the come up. You need to move. Like, Nashville is going to be the big city. So I was like, okay, let's go to Nashville. So I moved to Nashville in October of 2019, which is not the best timing because I had a solid 6 months before the pandemic hit. Yeah, I lived in Nashville for 3 years, and it was
it all you were told it was?
A little bit. I mean, it's still growing, but it's a great central location. And I learned this is why a lot of tours start in Nashville, because it creates like a bow tie effect. If they start here, they can go up, down, and then cross back over through the country. So because it travels everywhere. Because Atlanta is also like a Delta hub, which is so close. So you have one of the biggest airlines as like the direct flights are everywhere. And Atlanta was a 4-hour drive. So then I'm spending my time flying to Los Angeles or driving down to Atlanta to work or doing stuff in Nashville. It was a great learning place, and I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to experience a lot of different things. I was going to leave there a year prior to when I did, but I am happy that I did my 3 years.
And then after Nashville, then you ended up in LA. So how did that happen? Well, what was that move like and why?
So, well, I was still in Nashville. I was, I didn't have an agent until 2021.
No one scooped you up with your following and I mean, just looking you up, you have 345,000 Instagram followers and 637,000 people on TikTok that follow you. And I'm sure that has grown right over the past couple of years,
Mhm.
but like you obviously went viral prior to you living in Nashville. So I can't believe no one scooped you up. It was like, please come be under our umbrella. Like that's wild to me that no one got their hands on you faster than before you moved to LA.
Yeah, I mean, so in 2021, I was looking to move to Atlanta, and I knew the big talent agent down there. And I spoke with him and I said, "Hey, will you sign me?" Because I met with him and he was very nice to me. And he said, "You have to move to Atlanta." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go."
Mm.
But in that process, Block LA reached out to me at the same time and said, "We want to sign you right now." And I was like, "Well, I'm in Nashville." And they're like, "That's fine." And then at the same time, I got reached out to do a residency show in Nashville. So that's why I was staying an extra year there.
Mm.
And the Atlanta agent was like, "Well, I don't want to sign you unless you're here." Block was like, "We'll sign you right now." So then I ended up with Block, and I
Mhm.
spent my extra year in Nashville. I quit that residency show before it opened because it was a disaster. And so then when my lease ended in Nashville, I was like, well, I mean, I might as well go where my agent is.
Right.
Moved out
Right.
to LA.
Wow.
And
Just taught me
so
what they were doing.
when I look at this list, it says, tell me about some of the videos, festivals, commercials. Tell us a little bit about what's happened in LA for you.
So over the years, I've had the opportunity to do commercials for like Google Pixel. I did one for Vileda, or in the States, it's called Ocedar. It's like a mop commercial. But I did that. I filmed that one in Lithuania. Done like a Super Bowl commercial for Dodge Ram. And then I did an episode of P-Valley on Stars. I did an episode of Echo 3 on Apple TV. I did Dolly Parton's Magic Mountain Christmas this past year.
Whoa.
And
Yes.
then I did Rihanna's Savage X Fenty Show, Volume 3.
Oh my God.
Um,
Riri. Oh, that's amazing. Oh.
I did, it's not out yet, but I did a movie with A24. I think it's supposed to be a summer release that's like a musical theater, raunchy, with like Nathan Lane, Megan Mullally, Bowen Yang, Megan Thee Stallion. So they've been keeping me busy. I just did a big campaign not too long ago, like a couple weeks ago, in New York. Can't say the product because they might be listening. But it's a big company. Yeah, it's been such a great journey, and Block has been very helpful the entire way, because some of it is like people approaching me and some of it is auditioning through them, and I'm always able to like, hey, this person reached out to me, give it to Block, and like they're on it immediately and they're negotiating and they're being great for me. So it's been a lot.
That's
How does it make you feel to be in this place? Like, do you feel like you have, I don't know if this is the right word, but that you've won? Do you feel like you have more to prove and do? How do you feel having that list of credits that anybody would love to have behind them? How does that feel to you?
It feels great. And there's been some surreal moments, like doing the Dolly Parton movie was
Mhm.
a very big moment because it wasn't just working for Dolly, but I was cast as one of the dancers, and I was working alongside someone who kind of was an inspiration into getting to dance. I it was with Alex Wong,
I
who
knew
like
you were going to say that. Can I tell you? Because as soon as you said Dolly, I'm like, Alex Wong was on that. I wonder if they're connected in some way. Yeah.
yeah, and so he's someone I looked up to So You Think You Dance, and I remember watching him and thinking, holy, he's amazing. And so now here we are as dancers together on the same movie.
Equals.
And
Equals and book together. How incredible.
and
Good for
he
you.
actually like texted me one day while we had a day off and was like, do you want to go make a TikTok together? So like that was like a crazy moment of like, wow, like the place that I've been able to get to. There are times that I think like, how much further do I want to go? And I feel driven to stay in the industry and keep changing things because of different experiences I have had that still show we are stuck, where we're still focusing very much on the body, and not respecting boundaries. Like the residency show that I quit. I quit them because they asked me, I was in the middle of working on Savage, and they sent me an America's Got Talent video and was like, so this is what we want to do. Mind you, they approached me. I didn't audition for the show. They booked me, had me staying in this place. I'm not going to say who the choreographers are on it. But they were like, so we want you to do this. And they wanted me to go on stage, take my shirt off, get slapped like a drum on my stomach, and then dance for them. And I said, I quit. Immediately, I was like, I quit. I had a mental breakdown because at the same time, Savage was like, you're going to be shirtless because all of the male dancers are shirtless. And so now I'm thinking, am I just a joke to this as well? Which I wasn't. I was celebrated. But all I thought from there is like, this just proves I have so much more work to do in the dance world.
Okay.
And I have to prove why that's not okay. So I quit that show immediately, even though they begged me to like stay and to talk to them. I was like, nope. I was like, the only reason I'll talk to you is to let you know why that was so messed up.
Bye.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was just sad because like all the accolades that I have achieved or gotten to, I was still minimalized so quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So stereotypes. What message can you offer to dance teachers and studio owners to consider? So even if they're not intentionally judging or stereotyping, what message would you send out there?
I would just say that your words have so much more of an impact and last so much longer than you could ever imagine. And you could still come from good intentions, but the way you word things or the way that it is received, it lasts forever, especially and during those years of adolescence. You know, they're soaking up so much stuff. I don't love always referencing it, but like if you go on TikTok and you look at some videos of people talking about their dance experience, whether they are still a dancer or they used to dance, a lot of them mostly remember the bad because the scar runs deep. A lot of them remember being told, I can see you had lunch today. Oh, did we have a big lunch? Oh, we can't do a 2-piece because X, Y, and Z. Oh, your thighs are jiggling too much. Oh, you're this. All those little comments that have been kind of engraved in us to like think about the impact it has. It lasts years and years and years, and it causes so much just mental anguish, and it can cause so much just like hurt. And I feel as dance teachers, when repeating those comments, it's kind of coming from the same place of hurt, because we heard that as we were growing up. We were told those things So we still have that kind of residual pain and trauma that hasn't been processed. So then we pass it on to the next generation. And in some way, we have to break that cycle. You can encourage kids if you feel that they are maybe not having the best eating habits. Like if you see that they're having like a big fast food meal right before ballet, you can encourage conversation about mindful eating and how we can eat the proper meals before we go into ballet class so that we are having the best energy and not feeling lethargic. There are ways to have the conversation over like the direct comments of it, like, oh, I can see your chicken nuggets. Like, you know, it's dance teachers don't always acknowledge, like we as teachers spend so much time with these kids, sometimes more than their parents get to see them, depending on how many hours they go to the studio. You know, if you're dancing at least 3 days a week for 5 hours, that's 15 hours you have with these kids. They're coming from school where school is already stressful and hard on them. Then they're coming to their extracurricular activity that should be fun for them. That should be an enjoyable experience. And you're adding on pain to their day. And then they see their parents at like 9, 10 o'clock and all they can think about is, wow, I feel like crap because I was screamed at, I was yelled at, I was told I'm not good enough. I'm told that like I don't have enough abs or whatever, you know, I'm weak, I'm this. And there's ways that we need to be able to fix how we fix them if we're going to adjust anything. And also, I would say, like for teachers, taking them to the competitions and conventions that have those healthy boundaries and lines. You know, last year we saw conversations about some of the bigger conventions that wouldn't let their, you know, all-star dancers have a lunch because they had to dance, or would shame them for having lunch, or call kids out in the middle of it. You know, we saw there was discussion about it, and at least like the conversations we all had last year about the, you know, the unhealthy is coming from past young dancers and the trauma that 10, 15 years ago, they still remember being pointed at by a dance teacher and saying, oh, you're having lunch today.
Yeah. Or even, I remember when I was in college, I didn't come from a competitive world. I had 15 years at a dance studio that was the epitome of inclusiveness. We had girls on my level that were all shapes and sizes, bust, weights, hips, thighs, all of us. Every costume was made sure that everyone felt comfortable and confident. And that's the studio that I came from. And then I taught there for 5 years. So that's like 20 years it's been instilled in my head. You know, everyone is made to feel comfortable. Everyone should feel their best when they hit that stage, and how they look, how they're trained. It should be even across the board. But I remember I hurt my knee in college, and you know, I'm not a stick. I have hips, I have thighs. You know, I wasn't a ballerina. That's not my shape. I'm fit, but I'm more athletic. And I remember I injured my knee severely in a master class when I was at college, fully dislocated it. And when I came back the next semester, when I was in rehab and I was finally able to dance, I stood up, and it happened during my one teacher's master class. And he said, Laura, stand up. And I stood up, and it was in front of everybody. And I will never forget this. And I've like forgiven him for it because I see him so highly, but I never forgot it. He said, you hurt yourself because your thigh is too big and your calves are too small. And he looked at me and goes, fix it. And I was just like, okay, I will. And I sat down, and my friends were like in tears. And I remember thinking to myself, don't start crying, because if you start crying, you will not be able to stop, and it will ruin the rest of your day. Don't start crying. Like, he's just coming from a place where he doesn't want to get injured again. But I remember being a young girl, like trying to like comprehend and break down what he was trying to say to me, but pick the wrong words. But like, I go back to those moments. I'm like, I would never, as a teacher, ever blame a dancer for getting injured because of how her body looks, you know, like that would never, ever pop into my head. Well, you hurt your knee because your thigh is too big. What? I hurt my knee because I wasn't strong enough, or I did a prep wrong, or whatever, or it happened. It was a freak thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily how my body is. Stuff happens, accidents happen. But, you know, it's interesting because now hearing you say what you're saying. I almost had to go into my head and like, he didn't mean that. He didn't. And it was like a trigger thing for me that I'm like, I would never want to make one of my dancers now feel that way ever, you know?
I want to ask your opinion on something, Eric. Hang on one sec. I'm going to take this message down. I'm a dance teacher. And that this may be a stupid question, but I really want to hear your response. I'm a dance teacher. I have a couple of larger dancers. Should I be costuming them where they're all going to feel comfortable, or should I be costuming them in a two-piece costume and accepting that may be what these girls want? What decision should I make as a dance teacher?
I think it's open to have discussion with the dancers to see in an open form too, or privately, whatever can work, or both even, just to be like, these are ideas for costumes. How do we feel about them? How are we okay with them? And speaking with their parents as well, so that the kid has the comfort to be like, I'm not comfortable in that. Because it might not even just be the bigger dancers that don't like the two-piece costume. It could be the smaller girls in the room that are very, maybe they don't like that you can kind of see their hip bones, or you can see like the bottom of their rib cage. They're also, are their bodies, like they're so confused by their bodies, it's such like a confusing time for all of them. So I think it's worth having a discussion to be like, these are ideas. What are your thoughts? It also helps the kids be more wanting, I feel, to be in the dance or a part of it, because they feel that their opinion matters and they feel that they get to have a say in what they're going to do. And I mean, the two-piece costumes can be fine. I just feel like it's not really worth it, because in the long run, there's not a lot of two-piece costumes in the real world. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. They were in giant puffer jackets. So
that was controversial though, but I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Their bodies were covered even underneath, like they were in like full. So it's a give and take. Two-piece costume can be fine, but it's also like who in the room is wanting to do it, who is okay with it, and does the two-piece costume make the dance better? Does it distract from it? If you change the two-piece costume into a one-piece, how much does it affect your dance? Because it probably doesn't affect it as much as we think. I feel that costuming sometimes it might be a controversial take, is a little too much of a focus on studios for choreography versus just creating a beautiful piece and then costuming later. I'm someone who just likes to go off like a color palette. Like with this dance, I see like greens, neutrals, and this, and it's like, what can we put together versus like, well, Weissman's says this sparkly costume has to be ordered right now, and it's July, so that I can get it on back order by January.
Right. Hopefully, in all the sizes that you need.
And we're going to base our entire dance off
We might be getting a little controversial here. That's okay with me, though. Let's do it. It is the truth, but that has changed. When I was younger and competing, we didn't order costumes from the catalogs. They were made by dressmakers back then. The competitive solos, duo, trios, but you're right about that.
One thing is provocative though, Ree, like with the two-piece, has that always been a thing, or is
it's more in the last, I'll say 90s on.
Yeah. Okay.
That it's MTV-ish time, video, more openness,
music videos and all of that. Yeah.
Though in the 70s, girls would like hike up their leotard, that French cut look, and wear the belts. And so I look at that and I go, wow, sometimes we were a little more risque, because that would be hiked up all the way.
Mm-hmm.
back in the 70s, we weren't thinking so much about what's, let's say, appropriate, not appropriate, and so many diverse opinions as we do in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, again, I'm not a full-time teacher. I do teach. So there's a little bit of, my opinion is taken with a grain of salt. I love whenever I see like dancers come on stage and they're wearing something that maybe they picked out at like Forever 21 and like created a costume out of that. That to me, it's because it's creating that level of like pedestrian that
Yes.
like feels like attainable and reachable, but then they're doing this crazy choreography. And it's like, it's that juxtaposition versus like seeing the sparkly rhinestone costume that is ill-fitted because they just ordered it and they don't know the sizing properly, and then they have to worry if the strap is going to come off. Like because then to me you're focused more on, I feel, again, grain of salt, I feel the choreography is more focused on whenever the costume doesn't really matter. It doesn't really, it's not a factor. And then you don't have to have the uncomfortable discussions of like, so I was going to get this Vegas girl 2-piece costume with rhinestones and all the accoutrements. How are we feeling about it? You don't have to have that because it's like, it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, another controversial take, these costume books, they have taken reign over the dance world and they treat these studio owners and studios like garbage, and we just have to accept it.
Say that again. I missed the first part.
This is a little controversial take, but I just feel that the costume companies have kind of, their quality has gone down and their customer service has gone down and their prices go up, and studio owners are at their beck and call. I mean, I go on the Facebook page and I see all the time everyone's asking about, this costume book is blah, blah, blah. Does anyone have this? Because they sent me the wrong thing. Da, 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 da. And it's like, the consumerism is like so high that they don't have to care about providing quality. Just like, I mean, some competitions where it's like, it's oversaturated with, you know, all this stuff. They don't care about providing quality to the studio. So it's like, at some point, studios and teachers, we have to take back the quality to provide the best experience for our students. Okay. So maybe it's less competitions and more focus on better.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that, though, Eric, does fall on us studio owners, and I take ownership of that. Like, I had multiple places that I ordered from in the past for costumes, did not have good experience with one, and I shifted all over to the other. And I just said to them, I'm going to be moving 99% of my business to you. Can you handle it? I was like, it's this many costumes. It's this much profit. This is when I need them by. When should I order them by to be able to get them in hand? And I just had a very open conversation with my rep, and she's on it. And then I think it also goes for the competition world, because when I see people saying, oh my God, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday competitions. When I call in August or July, I'm saying, we're a medium-sized studio. We have 56 dancers on team. We bring about 30 plus numbers. We're not 150, you know, we're a medium-sized studio, and we bring lots of large groups, small groups, and a few solos, duos, and trios. But when I call in advance, I like say to them, what is your cap? My parents aren't okay with being there on Friday morning. You know, we're a Friday, Saturday, Sunday crew. And I think just having that open dialogue and setting the expectations of what it is that your studio wants versus is that the product we're going to get if we come to you. I feel like if more of those open conversations maybe happen in our dance community and those business conversations happen, I think it would be a little different too. Because once I started being a little bit more proactive with that, I had a better experience for sure. Because I went to a competition, they're like, in regionals, there's a stage A and there's stage B. I'm like, come again? I'm like, what? I'm like, it's only me. Like, I have a kid performing at 103 and then 107. Like, and first time
that's
soloist.
ridiculous.
Like,
at that point, it's just a refund. Give me a refund.
Yeah, I was, and I just said, I'm sorry, like we can't go to a competition that has over 1,000 numbers at regionals. That's great. Whoever wants to do that, that's wonderful, but that doesn't fit Libra Dance Studio brand. That's all, you know, and more power to you guys. That's all. But I think just as studio owners, if we have those business conversations, open conversations that would definitely, I think, simmer down the issues that we have. But we have to feel empowered to do that. You know, we're bringing profit to your business, and if you want
Mhm.
if you want to have our business, this is what we're expecting. That's all.
Yeah, just like with even just like the judging and the critiques that come with it, that I feel that because it's a money machine at this point, they have an oversaturated amount of judges that are underqualified and say, I just saw, I don't know the competition and I wouldn't say it anyway. Again, to go back to TikTok, it was all of these comments on someone's page talking about the same competition that was giving comments like, you're not meant to be a soloist. That costume looks awful on you. Oh, that's not good. Just like mean, ruthless comments. And it's, and everyone's like, yeah, my studio owner just said to ignore it. And it's like, no, your studio owner should call and say, this is unacceptable. We will never come back to your competition. Who do you think you are saying anything?
Because
Or,
here's
you
the
know,
thing, and if they sometimes I will say sometimes things happen and the owners of the competition don't know. So if you
Mhm.
don't bring it to their attention, the problem can't be fixed if the problem's unknown. You know,
Okay.
so if you have those issues, you bring it to the director, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd like to say the opinions expressed on this program. But wait, I want to say something. I didn't expect us to go here, but this is okay with me. I want to say something that Eric, you kind of started it, but I've really thought about this year. I see a lot of people complaining about judges, about critiques, about scoring. So now I want to say this to everybody. When I was in dance competition, I know I sound like grandpa. When I was in dance competition many years ago, we would have judges like Gus Giordano, Fred Connect, David Howard, Beverly Fletcher, Brian Foley, these like master teachers.
Yes.
Okay,
Master teachers.
so what happened here was there are 40 events on a weekend. So the quality of judge has gone way down because there's just so many slots to put them into.
Mhm.
That's what happened to judging.
Yeah.
Which also caused then the competitions world, in my opinion, to then the quality of the title diminishes. You know, back in the day, winning the, you know, the DEA, DMA, ADA Mrs. title, that held so much weight. But now it's like everyone has the title. So it loses because they've reduced their quality. So, you know, like I know Heather, I think she won ADA's and maybe DMA's title, my teacher Heather back in the day. And that held a lot of weight to be.
Can I tell you that Heather was the hardest working dancer pursuing that title? It took her time to get there and be ready. But I can recognize and remember in my head that when she won, everybody in the place was excited for her because they'd seen her work so hard for so long to achieve that goal.
Mhm.
Where today, if I didn't win a title at ADA, well, then I'm not going to ADA. I'm going over here because I could win that title.
Mhm.
Well, it's the instant gratification. I think
Yeah, everyone has to feel good.
Yeah.
Wow, Eric, we went on a
Yeah.
tangent.
I really like her.
Let's bring it back to acceptance of all bodies and sizes and shapes and thinking. It's like, I want to say this to you too and to our audience. Once I saw a girl who could only move her right arm and a little head movement. And she went out on stage and just did a port de bras in her chair. And it was one of the most moving dance performances I ever saw in my life.
Mm.
I am like this guy on a mission to say that dance should be in everyone's life, regardless of who they are, what they think, where they're at physically, because it's losing yourself in this cool music and movement thing, and building a confidence in yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And with this talk, and maybe we'll do this again, Eric, I will feel like let's open the doors to everybody. Okay, with that in mind, give me some final words of wisdom, Eric.
I would say for studio owners and teachers out there too, if you have kids that are struggling with body awareness and you need to help get them out of that funk, look to the professionals that are out there. Use your references. Just like for a while, it was great to have Misty Copeland to show to young Black dancers, like, look at the possibility. There's so many out there that are working. Amanda LeCount is a dancer who is dancing nonstop. She is a plus size dancer as well. Akira Armstrong, Dexter Mayfield, Amari Monster, Marshall, like, there are dancers, and use them as references to say, this is a person you can obtain this because they did as well. And don't be afraid to ask the questions and ask for help from other studio owners or from physical therapists or anybody to get more information on how to handle this. And give yourself grace to not know the answer. Give yourself grace to learn more. The world is forever changing and it's forever shifting, and there's always more to learn. So never let yourself think you know everything. Mm-hmm. It's hard, but the best thing we can do is make it a little less hard for the next generation. Don't add to, like, this world has so much that comes at them. They are getting punched left and right with everything in this world. Don't add another punch. Help them be a little bit. Make sure that dance is fun for them. Make sure that this extracurricular activity that they should love and are passionate about is not the thing that causes them to seek therapy in a couple years. Don't be the thing that adds to their pain. Let dance be the release that it should be.
Perfect. Let dance be the release that it should be. Eric, thank you so much for being you. Keep doing what you're doing. Those that may be watching today, what's your handle on Instagram? Is it your name? How can people find out more?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's just my name. Just one full thing too. There's no spacing.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Laura. I feel like today was a really good day.
That it was.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Eric. This was awesome.
Thank you all. Take care.